Noodles were coming.
That was so convenient for us.
I know, we just went that.
Andrea Kelly is on.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Okay. This is an irregular scheduled meeting of the Public Facilities Committee. And present at the beginning of the meeting are Councilor Burt from Ward 6, Councilor Getz from Ward 5, Councilor Kelly online from Ward 3, myself, Susan Albright from Ward 2. And we have a few other councilors here. We have Councilor Malachi from Ward 3, no, it's not. I almost said John Rice, but no, that's not right. Councilor Humphrey from Ward 5.
Yeah.
And that might be it for councilors. Oh, Councilor Bixby from Ward 6.
Yes, Councilor Farrow.
Councilor Farrow was in the room. From Ward 8. And, okay, now I think that's it for councilors. Yes. And we have, I see online, we have not counselor, but Director Heath from the planning department. And in the room, we have Commissioner Sullivan and Bernie, I can't remember, Nick McDonald, right?
Yes.
Not Councilor McDonald, Assistant Commissioner, yeah? Deputy Commissioner. Oh. And various consultants that will be introduced as they come up. And members of the area council, I think, are here too. And we've been joined by Councilor Kalis from Ward 8. And I just see Jonathan Yo from COO has just joined us. So we only have one item on tonight's agenda, and let me read it into the record. 3/17/25. Councilor Albright requests a review and discussion of the conceptual plan for Newton Highlands Village Improvement Project prior to advancing to the final design phase. So I hope you all had a chance to, Commissioner Sullivan sent us something, which I hope you had a chance to look at. And this afternoon, I sent everybody a memo which gave you options for these are just options for what that motions could be like. There's no action item in this, so it's really a sense of the committee that we're looking for. And it's a sense of the committee and any conditions we want to add to our approval or denial or whatever it is we vote for. I tried to glean all of the issues that we talked about at the last meeting, which I listened to you, so you listened to it, so you wouldn't have to. And from the 2 letters that we got from the area council. So I think all of the issues are summarized.
There's one letter.
There was only one.
One letter from the area council, one letter from a member of the area council. And I spoke with Councillor Bixby later this afternoon, after the memo had already gone out. So she may have a few other things which I've heard her speak about that she wants to add to the list. What else does it need to be said? So Commissioner Sullivan, have you got new information, or do you want to do anything to start the meeting off?
So I thought the consultants, Jim Fitzgerald and Margot Spiller from Apex, do have some new information. They will give a slide presentation, and then I think we need to answer your question.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Do you want to sit there, or do you want to sit here? Yeah.
Councillor Mays,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but we're also joined by Jen Martin.
Oh, very good. We're joined by Jen Martin from the planning department, and we're also joined by our committee clerk, Lisa Pennell, who's been invaluable in getting all this done today.
Keep that more for you.
So you're on. Great.
Thank you very much again. My name is Jim Fitzgerald with Apex. What we just wanted to start out with was the big topic at the last meeting, which had to do with the financials on the project as far as how much the construction of this project would take. So what we did is we prepared a high-level order of magnitude construction budget of what the project might equate to, recognizing that there are a lot of factors and things that need to still be identified, determined, designed out in order to really come up with a more refined number, but at least it'll give some gauge as far as what this sort of project could run with the number of assumptions that we've made. We thought it would be helpful to provide a breakdown between the different streets, Lincoln, Walnut, as well as the other roadways that have kind of extended from the project, which also do contribute to the cost. So that would be Hartford Street is the 3rd column, and the 4th column would be for all the other roadways. So Floral, Center, Lake, Station in that last column. So looking at the basics of the project, really from a transportation standpoint, we have roadway reconstruction costs that would include everything within the roadway, not including the curbing. How much additional cost the raised table treatments would run. One of the big treatments on Lincoln Street that we were showing was that raised treatment for a pretty extended duration. So certainly has some cost implications there. 3rd line down, sidewalks and ramps, and last, traffic signals along Walnut Street. So as you can see, the largest items are the roadway reconstruction line and the sidewalks and ramps, and that will continue to be the highest value throughout highest numbers on everything that we look at. So then we also looked into costs for green infrastructure. Again, for each of those different areas of the project, things to treat stormwater, phosphorus removal, etc.
And I'll just highlight on green infrastructure, once we would actually get into detailed design, we are assuming the best possible scenario in terms of every potential location would be beneficial from a green infrastructure perspective. If further investigations indicated they weren't, we would pare those areas out. So this is the maximum possible number.
Can I just ask you about green infrastructure? Is that more than stormwater and phosphorus and all of the issues that fall under the category of the NIPD and the M4, MS4? Is it more than that?
It's all of that.
It's all of that,
it's all
but is
of
it
that.
more than all of that?
That's the primary,
Okay, I
Primary
just
position.
wanted to be sure that what you mean by green infrastructure is everything to do with stormwater and all of the requirements we have from the DEP.
correct,
Okay,
correct, and certainly an important consideration, especially
Got it.
here in Newton. Next couple of lines are for streetscape elements and landscape elements. This is a big wild card. I mean, we could, streetscape treatments and furniture have come in a wide variety of styles and prices. So there could be a huge swing there. But again, we looked at comparable locations that has been done with this team in the past and identified what these costs might be.
Sorry not to keep
Yeah, no,
coming in, but
that's-
green infrastructure, when we are looking at adding new trees along the corridor, especially on Lincoln Street, because we are looking at that connected tree pit, that was categorized under green infrastructure and not landscape elements.
I see.
So
Last but not least, lighting, including lighting on Lincoln and on Walnut. So all these different elements add up to about $14 million for the whole project. That includes, again, not just Lincoln and Walnut, but also Hartford Station, Floral Center, and Lake. Looking at Lincoln and Walnut alone, you're just about $11 million all in. So again, prepared this with the idea that it's important to understand where these costs are coming from. And it's really not just one thing, it's a lot of things rolled in together. So when we talk about project phasing it's important to look at these numbers and understand how it's adding up to this value.
And this also, all these numbers include a 30% contingency as well as 10% escalation for the fact that it would be constructed in a future year.
We were anticipating 2027.
So that's all,
Included in
Okay.
each of these numbers.
did you do anything more with phasing? Or any,
I think the conversation of phasing is related to this chart in that by looking at the columns, for instance, between Lincoln and Walnut, you can kind of anticipate what that phasing could be. If one of those roadways were to be priority, let's say it would be Walnut, that would be about $5.4 million.
okay.
So
So we can
that's
think
why
of it
these
as a
numbers
street
are
by street kind of a phasing.
Yeah.
Okay,
correct.
got it.
Correct, and if again, not to point out the last two columns of Hartford and the other streets again, but that right there, if phasing is important for this project, that by phasing out those two columns, you would be able to reduce the numbers by $2.2 million. So certainly would take a little bit of the cost off at least.
Okay. So is that it for tonight from you guys, except for?
It is, we have more, we have, depending on where the conversation goes, we have more graphics to be able to address those concerns or comments. So
Okay, that sounds good. And with respect to the undergrounding, Commissioner Sullivan sent us, I hope everybody had a chance to look at the sheet that she sent us. That showed the cost as of 2024.
Yes, these were shared with the area council in March 13, 2024.
Okay,
So that's where these costs were from.
okay. I don't have that in front of me, but it's a lot of millions of dollars. But it seems it's very important, so that's why it's one of the elements on this list that perhaps money could be found for it. I don't know if everybody is aware that there is a state law, which I learned about back in the day when Serge and I were on this task force together, that is it the mayor or the city council that
The
goes?
city council.
The city council can, like, if we said, we really want this infrastructure to be done, this undergrounding, we can raise the rates. We can vote to raise the rates so that everybody in Newton pays to get the undergrounding done in Newton Island. That's state law that gives us the opportunity to do that. So just so you know, that's there if somebody chooses. It's,
There's a process in Mass General Law that lays out how you would go about doing this. It requires a substantial public comment, public hearing. And then it would apply to all projects that was interest in undergrounding. And it would go to all the ratepayers in Newton, the costs.
so I remember we discussed that back in the day in our task force, and we had a sense that perhaps the ratepayers might not be interested in funding undergrounding, but you never know. Counselor Kalis and then Counselor Danberg.
Two quick questions. So, is it all right to hear from Serge? I don't know where the 100,000 is coming from. I just want to know
Yeah,
so we can put it to bed. If it's not.
yes. No, should we ask Serge that now? Serge, do you want to tell us about the 100,000 and where you got that number?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. I sent an email to this committee last week indicating where that information came from. That information came from the town of Weston. When they went ahead and did their underground project, they brought that before the public to see if the public had an appetite for funding it. And the public in Weston did have an appetite for funding it. But the way that they reduced the cost, and I take exception to the estimate of a $640,000 design fee. The way they cut the cost was by having really good project management. They used niche engineering companies. And they were able to coordinate all of this between Eversource and between Verizon and the other utility companies. And the amount for the design component was just under $100,000.
Oh, so it was just the design. It wasn't the implementation.
And then implementation happened afterwards, yeah.
Could I add something? Eversource requires that they use their own engineers to design the project. Nietzsche may have been Weston's engineer, but Eversource designs their own infrastructure projects. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, I read something on the Niche website that might help. They talked about how Verizon paid 75,000. Each of the contributing companies paid a piece. And it came to what they paid in came to well over 100,000, but maybe the Niche piece as a coordinator of it was 100,000.
Design costs.
But the design costs were contributed by all of the various companies put in a piece of it. And I remember the Verizon number was 75,000.
Okay, but the actual implementation was probably in the millions, or was it?
It
just-
was.
It was. The public was given an option to do the project with or without undergrounding, and I don't remember the exact difference in the number of millions of dollars that it was, but ultimately it went to public referendum and there was a vote and they decided to proceed with it.
Okay. The second question I just wanted to ask, so these numbers, where they're just from your research? Is that where they're from?
No, what we did was we did a very preliminary construction estimate. So each one of these lines consists of multiple different numbers, items that comprise that element. So whether like the roadway, taking into consideration everything from pavement to excavation to whatever is all included within those items. So we took off quantities, I think, and came up with prices. I think the part that like I explained before is a little bit more of a wild card would be the streetscape and landscape elements as well as green infrastructure, because we haven't designed those out yet. We haven't established quite yet what they will be exactly. And there could be a variation in price depending on what is selected ultimately.
Counselor Danberg, you have some questions or comments?
Yes, a couple right now. A question that I would have for the commissioner, Ms. Sullivan. The undergrounding, would that program be kind of like a debt exclusion override that would have to go to the city of Newton and then everybody would decide whether they want to split the cost? would it, how would that work?
There are there are different ways to do this. If you accept the Mass General Law, then it is the utilities that are charging the ratepayers for the cost of the undergrounding. I believe Weston did a referendum
Mhm.
to fund their undergrounding,
Okay,
so it's essentially
and it would go on to the bills of
the
the,
tax bills.
of the
It
taxpayers.
would be
obviously.
in the city or town that did it, where the other would be the ratepayers and it would be Eversource or whatever utility charging for the cost.
So once we got a total cost for the planning of it and or presumably we might be able to come up with the planning money. But the undergrounding itself, we would then go to the taxpayers, ask that, no, I'm sorry, yes, we would go to the do a referendum, go to the taxpayers, ask them if they would be willing to have this put onto their Eversource bills. And
So that's the ratepayers.
the ratepayers, yes.
Ratepayers.
I'm not even
And the
sure
answer would be
you
yes.
go as far as a referendum. It is the city council's decision after you hold public hearings. I believe the city council then votes to accept Mass General Law and to work with.
Okay, so first step is to accept the Mass General Law.
Right.
Okay, well, that's an interesting option, anyway. I think that's it for now, and when we want to have a more robust discussion, I'm ready to start that. If you'd like me to,
Well, are there any, yeah,
I'd like to hear from others
sounds
first.
again.
Yeah, just even in terms of seeing this piece, is really helpful, just so that we have a sense of the, the actual final cost for the project. But I sort of wanted to sort of go into actionable aspects of of where we are right now. So if in fact we do not proceed to final design, in terms of where the project is right now, are any of the components actionable right now? Or do they have to, in terms of grant funding, or, just proceeding? If it were to, end now, what do we have, in terms of, design documents or, yeah, she's.
It's like, as if this is ARPA funding,
Right,
so we need to be able to, if it were to pause right now,
right,
reuse those ARPA funding in an existing contract that the city currently has.
okay,
So paving, something that's already existing.
okay. So that's actually the only potential way that
Or we design out a portion of this to
Okay.
completion.
All right, and then, when I went to the ARPA funding page, I noticed that this was originally budgeted for $850,000. So did it get another appropriation to come up to the 1 million to
We
read
had-
the?
The initial design money was already appropriated. It got an
100,
additional
right.
850. So we had 150,000, I believe, for initial.
Okay, because I was just looking at the ARPA page and I was seeing that this project was scoped out at 150,000.
And then we got an additional $1 million, that's 850 to make it a full million for design.
Okay, I'm seeing here, I'm looking
I
at.
don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the ARPA page, and it's delineating all of
The
the
150
costs.
came first.
And so, yeah, the 150 came first, you're saying?
Yeah.
And then it's listed at,
850, so that,
Okay.
that's the 1 million.
Okay, all right, so that's what's residual or left. How much has the city
would-
been paid out to the
It's
project?
somewhere around 500,000. I
Okay.
would need to get onto the
Okay,
munis, and I'm sure we have outstanding bills with.
Could you
okay.
ask the question so we can all hear, please? And
Yeah, no, we're
Thanks.
just,
Could you
okay.
ask the question so we can hear?
Let's
Okay.
repeat your question.
All right, so we were just basically going through the project, the costs, the
Yep.
project costs, as it's listed on the ARPA page. And it's listed at 850, but Commissioner Sullivan is explaining to me that in fact, $150,000 was an initial appropriation.
It was.
And so now we're left with, in the budget that I'm looking at right now, it's the other $850,000.
So just
And-
$1 million in ARPA money?
Yes,
How much of that, did you ask how much of
Yes.
that's been used?
Yes.
so I don't have an exact figure. It's probably in the range of 500,000, but I am fairly certain that we owe our consultants some funds.
Okay.
We get a handle on that? Sorry, Chair.
No, so I'm just at this stage, you're saying to me that if we were to, seeing the option one and option two, where if it were to be paused. Are any of the components actionable, within the plan itself?
This is, the plan's only at the conceptual level.
Okay,
So if
okay.
you were to choose one, we could move forward with design funds that are already appropriated
right,
towards that.
okay, and to just get in a little bit of the specifics of, you say that if in fact option one is chosen, then we have to have a pre-existing contract in this, in terms of what has been designated as ARPA
Yes.
funded in order to go laterally.
If we move forward with
Right.
with one of these options
Mhm.
for design, we already have the contract with the Apex. They would continue with design.
Right,
And then if there were monies left over, we would need an existing contract to put those monies into.
okay, all right, but if option one were chosen, then the monies could go into the other concurrently contracted ARPA.
Well, not this project, some other.
Yes.
Yeah, because we were talking about it the other night, Councilor Rader was talking about
Yeah.
paving projects or something else.
Right, but,
Yeah.
Here,
right, but if, I don't know what your option one is that to stop the
Option one is to
project?
stop it, yeah.
Okay, if you stop the project, nothing's gonna happen.
right,
here
yeah,
in the defense.
Unless we were to be paving. roads.
So
Right.
there'll be, so what will happen then potentially is money will go for paving in wherever the next highest priority streets are in some other part of the city. So nothing will happen here in Newton Highlands.
okay,
If that's the desire of the city council to stop the
yeah,
project.
thank you.
Okay, before I call on you, Counselor Farrell, let me just, Counselor Bixby, are you still there? Because I know you had a little bit of time that you were gonna leave. Are you still there, Counselor
Yeah,
Bixby?
she's listed.
I know, but I know she had something else. she
Sorry,
had-
I'm still here. I'm listening. I don't have any questions at this point.
I just
Some
wanted to.
some thoughts later. Thank you.
Before you disappear, I know you
Yeah.
had some things you wanted to say, so make sure you raise your hand. Okay, Counselor Farrell.
Thank you very much, Chair. So there's $1 million in ARPA overall for this planning and design.
Yes.
And we have used approximately 500,
At
600,
least half of it,
pardon me?
at
Half.
least half.
Okay.
I can get you those numbers.
Right. And if the option one is approved, what happens to that 500,000?
I think I just covered that.
Explain
I
that.
just wanted to understand, so. thank you.
Okay.
Let's just explain it one more time.
So it means this project is dead. There'll be no funding for anything in Newton Highlands. So we can only use the remaining ARPA funds, we can only transfer them to an existing other contract that we have under ARPA, which in this case would be DPW as a much larger paving program that's designed to target our highest priority streets in other parts of the city. So roads with PCIs of 48, 49, 50 still need to get done.
Okay.
So that's where probably the money would get transferred to. I think we may have some other contract options, but that's probably the most likely. But nothing, this whole project at that point is.
Are you
dead.
suggesting that we finish the design and
That's,
that there,
that's the proposal. of-
That's-
and
yeah.
that? My question is,
Here,
that we
wait.
suggesting that we finish the design, and when that happens, these projects, this $10 million is in the budget to move forward?
No, there's not money in the budget. Yeah.
So,
So the whole plan has always been that the city would then go for grant funding. You have to have a design, you have to have a project designed first before you can go for Mass Works funding. That's sort of how it works. It's what we did at Petty Square. We used, yeah, so
but what you said then, if I'm understanding correctly, we don't spend the other 500,000 on this project.
Yep.
That money could possibly be used for other DPW projects,
correct,
Yes.
but then nothing would happen in Newton Highlands.
that's correct.
There is no guarantee, as I understand what you're saying, that anything will happen in Newton Highlands, even if we finish the design.
Well, why we do design. That's why all cities and towns design projects to
But is,
go after state funding.
I
That's how it
understand that,
works.
but it is possible to hold the project and have some negotiations about all the stuff that's been ongoing, because there's still questions about all of this. And then we still have to find money to actually implement this, is that correct?
Well, it
Whether
depends
it's-
how long you put it on the shelf. You probably have to restart design and restart a public process at some point down the road.
Yeah, okay, let's say a year, you think that has to restart design and everything, would design all
It
have to be
depends, yeah. You'd have to
re-introduced
find new
for a
money.
year? Pardon
You'd
me?
have to find new money to do that.
We have to find new money anyway,
No, not for.
Not
the-
just, not to do design.
not for the 500,000, I understand that.
Yeah.
But would we, if it all got delayed for a year, would we then have to redesign all of this?
We probably have to redo traffic counts, we'd have to,
Okay, but we're not going to redesign the entire project as it stands. So all of the work that you have done still has validity a year from now.
Except there is no money.
There's no money for anything
No,
anyway.
there's money for planning, so if we don't spend this money for planning, it will go for something else.
I
And then,
understand,
and then new money would have to be found for planning, just to make sure that you understand that.
I do understand that,
Okay,
and
good.
I think there's a serious question about, well, there are many questions about this plan. And while I've been a city council for 2 years, a not insignificant portion of Ward 8 includes Newton Highlands. And the Newton Highlands Area Council has graciously invited me to participate in their meetings. And I have listened to this conversation for a couple of years now. And there continue to be, with all due respect to the commissioner who was not responsible during most of this period, there were many periods when the council, as an arm of our government, was asking for conversations to talk about aspects of this plan. And we never had those conversations. The city never really had those conversations with the Newton Highlands Area Council, again, as an arm of our city government. And I think that until there is, my personal opinion is, until there is a really sound commitment, whether we proceed with the extra 500, the remaining balance of planning, or will we say no? Anything that happens in Newton Highlands must include serious conversations, negotiations with the Newton Highlands Council. And that the city cannot just come and make a presentation, ask for questions and leave and not talk to them again. And I'm saying this with all due respect, Commissioner. But the process has been belabored by a lack of conversation. Now, I don't know whether we would allow any non-council members to speak tonight, and I would ask them to, but this is my opinion
I hear you.
as an observer. And I don't know what we get for another $500,000 that helps to resolve all the questions that haven't been answered over the past 2 years. And how to engage in that thorough conversation so that we end up with a plan that really is something that you have listened to the users and engaged in a conversation and come up with them a plan that makes sense to them as well as you as planners. Thank you for your.
Do you have a comment?
I do want to say that we have done public engagement, not specifically with Newton Highlands Area Council, but we certainly haven't excluded anyone from our public comment periods. We've had separate meetings with the business owners because they have a different feelings about this project. But we have taken public comment. The thought was to include all of the public together so we could hear all voices.
Can I just call on Councilor Bixby, because I know she has to leave and now she's got her hand raised.
Thanks, I'm in transit right now. So I just wanted to jump back to the statement that if this was paused or this wasn't approved at this moment, that that there was nothing could happen for the Highlands. And then Chair Albright, it sounded like you were saying, you know, it could something could happen for the Highlands later. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood what the statements were there. If this is paused at the moment, nothing can happen, or it can be picked back up again.
I think that, I think the issue is the money. It's my, oh,
Can I
Gabrielle's
talk?
gone, yes.
So really what the issue is that the ARPA funding must be spent by December 2026. If we were to pause the project, that money would not be available to pick it up after December 2026. A new funding source would need to be found.
So we have over a year until
You have
that
it?
time.
Yeah, but it's really hard to complete it up to final design in that length of time.
Yeah.
We're only at the conceptual
Got it.
phase. We still have 25% design, 50%, 75, and 100% design. And a little over a year to do it.
Does that work for
Okay.
you?
So
That's helpful information. And I guess the other question is, can that be done in this year with $500,000 with the appropriate levels of community engagement and answering the questions that were outlined in Cheryl Bright's memo?
And whose memo?
Whose memos?
My
Your
memo.
memo.
Yes, some of these we're already working on, Counselor. Yes, we can get there.
Okay. So now let me let Council Crowell finish.
With all due respect, Commissioner, community engagement, in my opinion, does not mean you gather 100 people in a room and make a presentation, ask them to comment, and then not come back for 6 months. With consultants who I don't even know if were in the room listening to the conference, they may have been, but
They were.
that is not a conversation. That is not a negotiation. You sit down with a reasonable number of representatives of the community, the area council, in my opinion, and you go through item by item and have that conversation with them. That's the kind of negotiation that I believe should happen here. And I don't believe that that has happened.
So I come through at this from a different perspective. I feel that as a community, everybody's voice should be heard by everyone.
And I don't have any disagreement by that, but when you have a group that it is my impression has said to the city, let me take it off you completely, but has said to the city time and again, we are making comments and we don't get any conversation from the city. What we get is, we'll take it to the consultants and see. Now, I am not speaking on behalf of the Newton Highlands Area Council. I have no right to do that. But I would very much, I don't know what the timing is on all this. I know you got a lot to do before December 31st. But it might be possible to ask the area council to, in fact, have a conversation about this, which came out today. They've never seen this, I don't believe, until today. What do they think about the chair's recommendation? We can like stop all of this and understand the consequences of that. Or look at your list of 17, see if there are other things that they want to add to that, and do this quickly. And come back to you.
I have no, I mean, I literally, Lisa Pennell and I spend a lot of time each day trying to figure out how to get everything done. And,
Sure,
and we're even looking still now for another day in December.
Sure, I understand.
There's not another, this is gonna be done tonight, one way or the other.
Okay, that's your choice.
I have no
No,
choice. It has to happen.
The,
So you had your hand
I
raised.
just had one specific question. When you gave these costs, I'm guesstimating that they've actually inflated a bit because these were 2024.
Those are 2024, so
Okay.
there's probably a slight
Yeah.
escalation
Okay,
there.
and then the other piece was of the, the design as well as the, the budget for the
For
construction.
West Newton and Newton.
Yeah, how were they funded? How were these, do you know how these?
Some of it
specifically-
is utility funding, bonding,
Okay.
and I'm
Okay.
not even sure there was grant funding included in those.
All right, so then that's interesting to know, that both the West Newton as well as the Newtonville construction was funded.
So it is important to note that these started their planning in like 2016.
Wow,
Yes.
okay, okay.
So, I mean, bonding is always an issue. Also, there's overrides, there's bonding, there's
Yeah.
grant money, there's all kinds of options that come if you put yourself in the position of applying for grants.
Yeah.
If we fail to put ourselves in that position, then it's irrelevant where the money comes from because there'll be no money after.
Right, well, I'm just mostly concerned about like, you know, I would hope that grant funding is the first potential.
That would be the first thing that we would
And
go
then you
for.
go from, then you know, you go
Yeah,
down the
yeah,
list.
yeah.
Important to note that the green infrastructure, the funding would come from probably our stormwater
Okay,
and green
Which I
stormwater.
was wondering if that could be used as a match.
We would have to have some type of match, so probably yes.
Okay, so that's some money that we have in our hands that could be used as a match that we need to do anyway for other reasons.
The bond for the stormwater and
And I forget what you said. I think you said it would be the spring. When do you apply for the MassWorks grant?
There's an expression of interest that is at the start of the year.
January?
January, February, and then I believe the applications are due in May, June. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Counselor Danberg.
Can you apply? Can you make an application if you have not finished the details, all the details in the plan? You can.
You can, I think that the thing that you would want to emphasize on the application is how far that design is and that it's like a firm
You're
deadline.
at
that it-
50% design, let's say.
It will be complete. by
They want a
Friday.
commitment.
Right,
Yeah,
so
so,
real.
a true
so can you
commitment.
get to 50% design by May?
I think we can, yeah, yes. We include copies of where the plans are at that point.
And would that necessitate our authorizing you to continue for the rest of this year? In other words, we're, November 1, we've got November and December, so we've got 2 months. We need those 2 months to be added to the time that that we would need in order to, and not just encumber, but spend all the funds by.
December 2026, not 25. We have a year and 2 months.
But a year and 2 months from now, the funds have to not only be encumbered, they have to
But to be
be spent.
expended, entirely expended, that's what the issue is. Everything is, all of the opera funds are currently encumbered.
Okay. So that's a near deadline.
It is a deadline, yes.
So if we want to go for a grant and have whatever plan we come up with done, actually, the boots on the ground and items completed, we need to get moving and make a decision to go to
Because
the plan.
we still have a lot more public engagement to do. That is really important to know. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning, and we need a lot more public engagement through this process.
Director Heath, before I call on Council Farrell, you have something you want to add to this?
Just real quickly, with due respect to Councilor Farrell, we've had so much back and forth with the area council. They seem solely focused on the issue of undergrounding utilities to the point where it's just not productive at this point. If that is their sole issue, then let's talk about that, because the project itself barely gets any attention.
It only gets to this. Okay.
Call on Mr. Dr. You might comment on that.
I'd rather keep it in the Council Farrell.
Couple pieces here. I guess I would like to truly understand. Are we 50% through the planning right now?
No,
So we spent $500,000 to get to what point?
to address all the different opinions. So we've been to the bike advocates, we have been to the businesses, we've been to the community.
Not design.
So, no, but we've had how many?
So we've been engaged in the project for 3+
3
years, so.
So,
This includes all the traffic counts that have been done, the
Okay.
design work, pivoted, changing
survey.
design, the
Yep.
survey.
We have a conceptual plan.
Yeah,
I would like to finish my statement, please. or
Sure.
questions. We are talking about a significant redesign of a part of our city.
Yes.
And the people who live there and who are represented in these conversations by the Newton Highlands Area Council have significant concerns still about the whole piece that you've gone through so far and want to continue to go through.
Thank you.
I don't get from what has been said by the commissioner or the consultants that, or by Director Heath. Let me just say, it is not my understanding that the only conversation that they want to have is about underground. I hear conversations all the time about what's happening on Lincoln Street and turns and bike paths and lights. I hear that all the time. And I don't think, with all due respect, and I mean that sincerely, we're not listening if we think the only thing they're concerned about is underground. There's a lot more that they're deeply concerned about.
I don't disagree with that.
Thank you. I'm just responding to Director Heath's comment that he's been drowned out by the undergrounding part.
I will say that the undergrounding has come up more than any other piece of this.
And because they're
At
not
least-
getting an answer, with all due respect, they're not getting an answer. And I want to know if part of this $500,000 that remains can be used to hire the kind of consultant that the Weston people hired to do that design or that investigation into the design of undergrounding. So that we're not spending $250,000 of that money that is for other design, but very specifically cut out a piece. And let's see if we can get somebody to do that design piece for the underground.
So I don't know if you saw the memo. The costs of undergrounding are at least $11 million. We have to fund Eversource's design, which they in 2024 quoted at $640,000.
Commissioner, that is their assumption at the moment. I'm asking whether a piece of money can be set aside
For a separate consultant?
for the appropriate consultant. I don't know whether it's in their bailiwick or not, but to do a design that we would then be able to go to all of the included agencies and say, can you build this? How much can you build this for?
So
If the design is there.
Can I comment on that?
Yes,
Because
please.
I think there's an assumption that niche, is I saying that right?
Yeah.
Niche could somehow magically do this planning for much less money. We don't know the answer to that, Commissioner Sullivan. Could you put out an RFP to niche to say, how much would you charge to do this work? That doesn't cost us anything.
I can do that, but the question is, the answer is Eversource isn't going to accept their plan. They require that their own electrical engineers design their infrastructure.
I think you're gonna hear that from the company. If you ask them to do it, you're gonna hear that from them. And I think it
So I will
would cover
reach out-
everybody's problems.
Because you mean that if a legitimate consultant, recognized consultant in this field does a design that then Verizon or whoever would look at that and say, well, we didn't do it, so we got to do it again.
That's what happened in the last.
Yes,
that's what happened in Weston. That's what happened in Weston. Each of the companies paid, it was much more than 100,000. It was close
Then
to
I think we should
300.
talk to Verizon about this law.
It's more Eversource than Verizon. It's
Whatever it is,
Eversource's
whatever it
requirement.
is, whatever it is. Eversource is making a lot of money.
I'm happy to reach out the consultants to get a quote.
I
for-
think getting a quote would
That would help.
help everybody. We would understand what we're facing.
And I will also reach out to Eversource if there's any bend there and get their
That's
answer
why I
and share.
added that to the list for this very reason. Let's just get a quote and find out.
Then the other piece I would like, if you choose to move to 2,
Yeah.
the part, and again, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Newton Highlands Area Council. That they understand that you're going to have consultants continue to do this. But there'd be a process established by you to ensure that the city engages in a meaningful, significant way with the hours it will probably take, and probably not as many as you're worried about, Commissioner, but to go through this plan with the consultants so that they are, I'm not saying they're gonna agree, you're all gonna agree, and at some point the city has to make a decision. But at least I want to ensure that the area council sits with you with a piece of paper in front of you and all of you negotiate. I think I'm,
Me too, but then we need to do that with the other people that are involved in this, the bike advocate.
you tell me.
So I have a
This
suggestion.
is a compromise.
If you suggest, Commissioner, if you suggest that there are other Newton area, Newton Highlands area people who want to be engaged in this, then bring them to that meeting.
That's what we've been trying
No,
to
bring them
do.
to one meeting.
Okay. I'm
And have-
happy to do that.
Have the business people who participate in the New Highlands Area Council meetings, have the church people who do that, come to one meeting and
Okay,
negotiate, sit down with all of you and negotiate.
And can I make a suggestion for the counselors who are in, some of you are in the room, some of you are not. I know that when we did the Newtonville project, the counselors in the ward, the three of us, I don't even remember who was with me at the time. We played an important role. We met, we heard from the constituents. We talked to, I think Director Heath and his staff were involved, Lily and Rachel. And we acted as go-betweens to make sure that the voices of the community were being heard. And we sat with wasn't you, as Director Heath and his staff. And so the counselors are gonna have to play a more active role in making this work.
so I.
Fully agree with you. Fully agree with you.
In Newtonville, established a working group. This is
Yes.
early for a working group.
Yes.
That was after
Yes,
the design had
exactly.
progressed. There was a working group established that included counselors, the Newtonville Area Council, business owners, and community representatives.
I think it's
To help.
established immediately after next Tuesday.
Yes, I agree with you.
The ward councilors should be. I'm happy to talk to them. You can have them say, you gotta do this. And be part of the area council's meetings and really get there. I
And
fully
be part
agree
of
with
the
you.
area council, but also sit and work with the commissioner to make sure that everybody's hearing what everybody's saying.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I want everybody, I'm talking about having everybody at the same table, same time, as many
Yeah.
hours or days as we can
Yeah.
take. To come up with as quickly as possible, a plan that meets the interests and concerns of the Newton Highlands people, as well as your professional opinion about these things.
And we don't need to involve the consultant in all those meetings. This can be time that we, the council, work with you and other members of the
We can
community.
of course have the consultants check in.
Yes.
But not at every meeting.
Right.
We do have to control costs.
Right.
I think if my objective is not clear, I will try to restate.
Counselor
I
Bixby,
understood.
I'm sorry. Counselor Bixby, you have your hand raised again.
Sorry, I do have to try and head to my next obligation here. I just wanted to try and jump in, and the conversation has moved quickly. Hopefully you all can hear me. There's a few games going on right here. You know, first of all, I mean, just to speak on behalf of myself and the Ward 6 counselors, I think we've been very engaged to the extent that we've been able to in this process, and been trying to amplify many voices in the neighborhood. I think the process over the past 2 years has been, you know, challenging and sort of starts and stops. And there, you know, often hasn't been things ahead of meetings to respond to, and sort of other challenges along the way, which, you know, I think have contributed to a lot of questions at this point. And to be honest, I guess at this point, I'm not really even sure what we're discussing this evening. I mean, I feel like there's a few different things being bandied about, and you know, different senses of even where we are in this process. Is this to get us to a final design? Are there still a lot of changes to be made? Are there still a lot of, you know, input from the neighborhood? Last week, we heard this was a $10 million project. Tonight, we're hearing it's a $14 million project. I mean, to me, there are just so many questions about this. And I mean, let me back up for a second. I was jumping in about the process, but I do support the overarching goals of this project. And I've heard from so many in the neighborhood who do as well. I mean, Newton Highlands, for sure, can use the accessibility improvements, the beautification, the safety, and the stormwater management, all of the things that are trying to be accomplished here. I just am not sure that this is a final design. And so maybe that's not even what we're talking about here. I'm not quite sure, based on the conversation this evening, but I would be very hesitant to, at this point, put more money, for your committee, and I'm not on the committee, to take action that would put more money into this in this moment. I think there are so many continued questions, and the funding environment has changed so significantly from when this project started, that to put more money into a process that we're not even sure what that process is and where we're going is very concerning to me. And I think that the Highlands has some immediate needs that could be met with smaller dollars. There are accessibility improvements to help get people in and out of the stores. There are safety improvements like RFBs for crossings. There's the light at Walnut and Center, which would create traffic flow and safety improvements throughout the neighborhood that we could see in the meantime. So I'm afraid I am going to have to hop in a minute, but I just wanted to say my piece on all of those fronts, and that the Ward 6 counselors have been as engaged as we possibly can be and are very, very committed to do so. We would love to continue to convene and serve on working groups to hear from the neighborhood like we have been doing and share that perspective with everyone. So I'm excited if that's the path that this, if this is continuing and that's the path this is going, that's great. And we will continue to do that. And I'll be listening, but probably can't hop back on to talk more this evening. So thanks.
Before you go, let me just speak to you from the experience that I've had in being on a working group over the last 22 years. At Cabot School, the high school, the Newtonville project, I don't even remember all the working groups I've been on. This is a conceptual design. It's the beginning of the beginning. So you have every opportunity to make changes along the way and meet with the consultants, but more importantly, even meet with the commissioner and other members of the community. And that's what happens in a working group. I don't know if you've been on a working group yet as a counselor, but you will have lots of opportunities to make big changes along the way to take this conceptual design to something that's wonderful for the community. So I want to assure you that that's how the process works, because you haven't been through it, but that's how the process works. And it's always worked before. It worked for the Cabot School in an amazing way. It worked for the high school in an amazing way. It worked for Newtonville in an amazing way. So you have lots of chances, and don't worry about that part. Okay.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So, sorry, I had to say that because I know Councilor Bixby is a newer counselor and hasn't been through that process, and it does work. And I think I added a number 18 to my list, which was to form a working group.
Yes, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. And I'm speaking on Councilor Bixby's behalf, and I had the opportunity to ask Commissioner Sullivan her question that she raised to me this afternoon, which was apparently many of the shops in the village have steps up to them. And I said, is there anything that you can do with respect to accessibility to help those shops where they have steps? And you said, I think you want to answer that question?
I said we can't change private property,
Right.
but we can do everything we can in the public right of way to gain that accessibility.
Okay, so that's something we can also put on your list, is accessibility to shops when you're not, obviously when it's in the public way.
Yes.
I'm going to add that as a number 20. So, and the reason why I feel comfortable going forward, Councilor Farrell, is because I read the area council's letter maybe 5 times, starting at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I wanted to make sure that I picked up everything that the area council has been talking about. And I think I did it. I think if you've seen my memo, I think I picked up all of the issues that you guys have, along with all of the issues that came up in our last meeting, which were many. And if we missed any, I think I picked up yours about parking. I think I listened to the meeting a couple of times too, to make sure I picked up all of the issues, put them all here. So it was a lot of fun today listening to that meeting.
A lot of hours.
I have a question.
Counselor Kewens.
So what is the likelihood that, with the rest of the money, we'll get to where we need to get to? Or will we need more money for planning?
I'd say it's highly dependent on the amount of outreach we do, so if
So
it's
given
continuing to
that,
be extensive.
can
we would
you
probably-
set up a program whereby the outreach is done primarily by your office,
We can do that,
not including them all the
I
time?
understand
so
that.
You manage them,
yes.
okay.
We can manage the consultants from that.
So do you think it's a 80% chance that the 500,000 will get us to where we need to be?
70%. We can manage it so that if it does go over the million, it is not significantly over.
Okay,
I feel like I can commit to that.
okay. All right, that's okay. The other question I have is for some of these other projects, and I'm asking both you and Chair Albright. At this stage, was the community as uncomfortable
Yes.
as they are now?
Yes.
This is very important because I think that's part of the process.
I
And I
would
think
say
that's-
yes.
And that's what I want to hear. I think that a lot of the concern could actually have been answered or subdued or just taken care of if we knew what the process actually was. That in the next year, there's gonna be monthly meetings, or there's gonna be this working group that gets together, because I think people are going into this thinking they haven't listened, they're not gonna listen, and this is terrible. I'm not blaming it, I'm just saying that's probably what we're hearing. And I think that that's probably typical for a lot of these projects.
Yeah.
So
And then we get into these working groups and things change. Go ahead, sorry.
I just want to ask the consultants, we've made multiple changes to the
Yeah.
design in hearing from the bike advocates, from hearing for the community. It's not that we haven't been listening, they've been redesigning this whole time. And we really are at the conceptual phase.
Yeah.
We've had a number of public meetings at this point, and we're just at conceptual. We are hearing for the public and making design changes to community parking, to different approaches, the stormwater.
Okay.
And I have some slides that summarize that, if it would be helpful to walk through it. I think it's the topics that we're not able to change that continue being contentious that are causing the.
There's gonna have to be a process whereby throughout this working group, if there are things that continually come up and cannot be answered, we don't waste time. Like, we have to put them in a parking lot and figure them out on another lane. And make sure they're answered and brought back in, but you can't waste all that time with things that you just don't have the answers for.
Understood. I don't think we've done that. We have been very clear that some of these options we cannot do because one of the main goals of this project is to make it an accessible area. And that means we can't do some of the things, or we have to eliminate a right-hand turn lane to create the necessary slope to make it accessible, depending on what the approach is for the street.
You said?
Yeah.
Counselor Danberg?
One other thing, I do think you should split this up. So we vote on whether we're gonna proceed or not with one or two. And then go through your list as to what is important,
Okay.
or so the consultant has some things to take away.
Okay.
And we can discuss some of those things if we need to.
Okay.
Just
Counselor Carroll?
with respect to the very last comment, I think the New Area Highlands Council should look at this list and have an opportunity to say, we would like the following items added to that.
That would be.
Regardless of
fine.
what the end result of the conversation is, but to make certain that their concerns are on the list to be discussed.
I mean, I think Chair Albright already mentioned, she went through that list that they provided. That's what the basis is, but I understand,
I appreciate what the chair did, but with all due respect, I would like to give this list to the council. And just have them add in whatever they're thinking. Those issues get discussed and resolved.
As long as they do it before we vote on it in council, that sounds fine to me.
When will this go before council?
When's our next meeting?
Monday.
Monday. Can you guys get it done, review it before Monday? Yeah, so then that works.
Thank you. And
Okay,
then-
let's search. What do you think?
No, I mean, we can review it. I think the problem is that there's, like the commissioner said, there's some seemingly immutable issues that can't come to any kind of resolution.
And that's okay.
And the undergrounding
Okay.
issue is one of them, and so I totally support
Please,
Councilor
okay.
Farrell in that we hire a competent consultant to give us an answer to that question, because
Do you
we
think-
keep going back and forth.
I think we had Commissioner Sullivan's agreement that she will put out an RFP asking the company for how much they would charge to do this work and how they would do it.
I'll call Rich and ask.
Okay, so I think we have that commitment.
Because the commissioner says it costs $640,000, the people in Weston say it costs 100, we don't know who to believe.
And I
Sir,
tried to call the
She's
commissioner at
separate.
DPW.
Sir, the commissioner will make the call, and once that, I mean, we have to also believe the facts.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
and we have to then put it aside.
so we
If
have,
it's 100,000, then great, we can do it, but if
that's
it's
all
not.
we're asking is that we get the facts, that's all.
Okay.
That seems very
I
fair.
want to assure you that we got these numbers from Eversource.
Just check with this company that did the
I'm
work.
more
for
than
West-
happy to check with that.
Check how
The
they,
consultant.
and get the information from them on what the
Yeah.
process was. I tried to call the commissioner in a town of Weston. I put calls into him many times and he never called me back. Apparently, I'm not that important to him. So, but perhaps if you call him and as well as me, you'll get an answer.
Council Albright, if I may, we did try to get together with the town of Weston, their consultant, and the DPW, and that meeting was refused.
By town of Weston?
No, they met with us, Nietzsche met with us, DPW has now retired, but he's still available, he said, he's
Yes,
still available.
yes.
And one other person, community advocate from Weston, they all met with us.
Okay.
DPW here in Newton wasn't part of that meeting, they were certainly welcome to attend that meeting. Councilor Bixby and Councilor Lovitz also arranged a very wonderful community meeting that DPW was invited to attend, where bike advocates and business owners and area council members and other members of the community came, and there was a huge consensus about what people wanted. DPW didn't make it to that meeting either, so I really appreciate the opportunity to have a working group and to really move this project forward. I don't want to see the project die. I want to see it go forward, but we also want the best possible outcome and the best project possible.
Yes. I think we have the commitment from Commissioner Sullivan that she will pursue with niche. That's how you say it.
Absolutely.
How they did it and what it cost and bring back that information to the working group.
And I'll check into Eversource with Eversource to see what our options are there.
Yes, that'd be great. Now, Councilor Danberg, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you, Chair Albright. I think we've got some good forward movement here tonight and have made some decisions and gotten some commitments that are gonna help us in the long run to get this moved forward. I would like to hear or see rather the slides that you have because they might help us to trigger some questions that we haven't thought of up until now. And then I'll after we finish that, I've got more to say.
So this is going through our slides from the first open house back in 2022 through our latest open house in September. So just showing, these are 2 slides on types of comments that we received from everyone that attended. You can see just in terms of categories, pedestrian safety and planting were the top 2. This is the results from the online GIS portal that we had up. You can see the largest 2 segments of the pie are for road safety and pedestrian safety. Just continuing to go through this. This is with just some selected quotes in terms of your first priority. It's not a huge sample size, but improved accessibility and safety received the most comments in terms of top priority, and then the other three were equal. So getting into actual design options, our first kind of design focused meeting looked at 3 typical section options for Lincoln Street and Walnut Street. Lincoln Street, option A was kind of the more simplistic approach, which is a conventional street with bump outs at the crossing location, similar to what we ended up proposing on Walnut. Option B was the raised shared street, which was eventually incorporated into the design that made Lincoln that kind of special corridor or focus for the project. And then option 3 was something in the middle, looking at some like blocks that were that raised feature, but not the entire corridor. On Walnut Street, again, Walnut's an incredibly constrained corridor, so the options that we showed basically said you can't have everything within the space we have. So option A was looking at parking, maintaining all the parking and having dedicated bike lanes, which at the time, because we have bike lanes further north on Walnut, was considered certainly something to look into. That would have narrowed the sidewalks down to the minimum 5 feet, so we wouldn't be able to have, benches, trees, etc. Option B said, if you want to have those pedestrian amenities and dedicated bike facilities, it would inherently remove the on-street parking. And then option C was, okay, if we want parking and those pedestrian facilities, we would have to move bikes into the road. And in order to do that, have those more enhanced traffic calming gateways on either end of the project to slow cars down and make that a safe option. Another thing we looked at was for the fountain forest at Walnut area, either retaining the fountain or having some other type of park option. So there's a lot of love for the fountain, so we ended up including that in the proposed design. So this is just kind of summarizing in the second meeting based on the feedback we heard at the first meeting and between the 2 meetings, the options for the 2 corridors and the forest parklet that were incorporated into the overall concept design. So that raised shared street, and then option C for Walnut, which was shared bike facilities. Then after the second meeting, we did get some more vocal feedback from the bike community, specifically looking at that desire line from Needham Street and Northland up to the MBTA station and Crystal Lake, that one block of Walnut Street from Floral to Station, if we could make bike accommodations work for that short segment, it would be the most important part. So then we looked at 4 different options for bike lanes. I'm not going to go into each in detail, but 2 of them looked at one-way bike lanes on either side of the corridor. Actually, 3 of them did. And then there was one that had a 2-lane bike facility on the north side of the corridor. We also we heard a lot of feedback that there's a lot of cut-through traffic on Floral Street. So we looked into preventing Floral Street traffic from going across Walnut. That was not advanced, given input from both the business community and the fire and police departments. So we ended up going forward with this preferred concept, which was then further iterated because our first iteration of the bike facilities on this block eliminated all the on-street parking. We then first added 3 spots on the south side and moved the bus stop to the south side of Lincoln. which was then further iterated to the most recent concept where we now have 6 parking spaces on that block and then relocated the bus stop to the other side of Lincoln, where it is currently. Another location that we iterated was at the Forest Street intersection. We also heard from both the bike community and the church at that corner that this needed to be tweaked. So one change that was made was shifting the transition from a bike lane to a shared facility from occurring at Forest Street to having it occur after Forest Street, so that traffic calming, the impact of that median and that gateway is already in place before bikes transition into the road. And then a further iteration was shifting the extent of that parklet to accommodate 2 parking spaces right at the church, in addition to the 6 spaces further down that block. Those were my iteration slides. But you can see
So
it's.
that takes place over a period of time?
Yes.
or Period of years?
About 2 years, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's very helpful, I think, to have something to react to. This is good. I think we can all understand that this has been a lengthy and an expensive process. You know, when we did Newtonville, Chair Albright, do you remember ballpark for DPW, what we spent on planning? Does anyone?
I have it right here. $547,411 for Newtonville, $724,670 for West Newton Square.
Okay.
They're both smaller areas.
Yeah, okay, and that was designed
In
100%.
2016, so.
So, yeah, all right, so it's,
Cost increase.
so we're
Substantial, yeah.
we are in a different era now as far as costs are concerned. And so cost is probably about right, from $1 million to get to final plan. I have the sense of the people in the room at least, and I think that the area council can certainly help us with other groups that they have spoken to in the city, other groups that they've spoken to, as to their wish to do something in the Highlands as opposed to walking away from what we've got and saying, let's give the money to spend the money on the ARPA funds on other streets in the city that need it. I don't think there's anybody who would prefer that to be our option 1. Is that the sense that I'm?
Well, I talked to 18 businesses and the consensus was parking was the most important thing. We wanted better lighting so it doesn't look haunted. I mean, the lighting just disappears up and especially at night, it looks bad when you come off the subway. So they want twinkling lights that make it festive to bring people in. They want signage on Walnut Street to send people down there. They want simple things.
So there are a lot of details that.
It's all would be included in the plan, absolutely.
That's what they want. The biggest thing was they were terrified that the construction would take a long time and their businesses would be ruined.
So I have to jump in here because I've been through this 3 times now in Newtonville with Austin Street first, with Trio second, and with this work third, where the businesses were concerned. They were residents who told them, your business is gonna close, you're gonna go out of business, this will be horrible, you will never survive this. And with Austin Street, the developer said that he paid for a shuttle to go back and forth to parking in Newton Corner, so that anybody who wanted to shop in Newtonville could still park. There was nobody that used that shuttle.
That's right, because I would drive to the next village or the next town.
No, the villages in Newtonville love what has happened there. They love it. They love the feet on the street. They love the people coming to shop. We have fewer openings in the storefronts than any other village, I'm guessing. I don't really know that for a
Yeah,
fact.
Petit Square it was a disaster for.
Well, it's time. It takes time.
I'm sorry, but I'm just telling you what the business, 18 businesses.
Yes, and you will hear terrible complaints that the world will come to an end. And I can tell you from my experience over the last 10 years now in Newtonville, it is far from coming to an end. Of course, I am very biased, but I think Newtonville is the best village. And it's because it has all of the feet on the street, it has all the amenities. We had a group called Beautiful Newtonville. Tim Stone was the lead of it. They raised money, they made plans. Newtonville is a fabulous place to be. But you have to trust that you're gonna get there. And I know that there are tons of people who are naysayers who say the world will come to an end if we do this construction. I know that.
I'm not talking about the public, I'm talking about the business.
I agree with you. The businesses are gonna say that it's gonna come to an end. The woman who just retired, who had that Natural Sense, I think was the
Yes.
name of the store, oh my God, the complaints that we heard from her. I'm never gonna vote for me ever again, never gonna vote for any of us. And in the end, she loved it and she retired in a very successful business. So you are gonna hear the naysayers complain. But I can tell you that at the end of the day, you are gonna have, and I don't want you to have a village that isn't wonderful. And you will have a wonderful village.
So when it's
Can I say something nice?
included on the working group,
I'd like to.
includes business representatives. That is gonna be one of the keys, that it's a representation of everyone that has a stake in this.
We've got a comment over here and then I'd like to continue.
I'd just like to say something nice, because it's confrontational, right? I do want to give credit to the consultants in DPW for making those changes that you did make. For example, there was a lot of concern about moving the parking on the south, from the south side of Walnut Street towards Lincoln to the north side. People were very upset about that because why would you want to park and then cross the street every single time? So you guys did react to that. The church was very unhappy about losing the parking. You pretty much restored 3 out of the 4 spaces. I mean, 1 was further down and 2 next to Fountain. So a lot of things, but there's still, people are still very upset about the right turn lane. And I understand there's ADA issues, but there's still a feeling that maybe we can revisit that issue
It's
somehow.
number 1 on my list.
And John Pelletier from Bike Newton, who you all know, and who's just an amazing person in terms of his knowledge about everything planning wise and bike wise, came to our meeting in March, and he and Carl O'Hara, I'll say, had a discussion.
I'm sure.
About parking, and ultimately even John agreed that removing parking on the northbound side between Station and Floral in 4 spaces, 80 feet or 100 feet of bike lane, it's not something that you're gonna fall on the sword for as a bike advocate, and if the business community is so concerned about that parking. By the way, all those businesses on that side of the street have shut down. There's I think they're all empty storefronts now. And so those are really the only 2, major issues I think that remain about the actual design that you're looking at right now. Thank you for taking away the berms in the village center. People were concerned, I'm gonna park and have to walk 3 car lengths to get to the sidewalk. Thank you for taking those away. So they have been very responsive, and there's just a few more issues. And then we just have to find a way to agree on underground somehow.
Yeah. And I'm desperately wanting to get to yes with you guys, because I know that at the end of the day, hopefully we can find the money to do at least some of the implementation, and you're gonna love it, and it's gonna make a difference. So
Can I get a copy of the most updated design so I can go through it in detail?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think I'm gonna ask.
Hey,
that
also-
this be
Mine
put-
already.
I'm gonna ask that this be
Put it
put on
online from the last
the.
meeting.
Say that again?
I'm gonna ask that this be put on the website so that anybody that wants to react to it, to bring it out to a group, to bring it to the working group, so that we have this in front of us. And I know that the DPW would be thrilled for everybody to have eyes on this and hands on this.
So are you done or no?
No, I'm not, but go ahead.
I just want to say, if you want to be that involved, be part of the working group.
I would love to.
So that's what you should be angling to do, because getting the latest, it's not gonna be the latest for very long. With the working group, it's gonna change and evolve constantly, so that's where you should be.
Okay,
She's at all of the meetings, just so you know.
I'm at the meetings. It's just one I was out of
That's
the
great.
country. I missed it, but I'm at the meetings.
Looking at polar bears, I understand. Okay, wait, you're not finished.
Yes, so where was I here? The working group. I think that the idea of creating a working group tomorrow. We'll start working on this. We'll get everybody that would like to be involved. I think we should meet at a minimum of once a month. And in the beginning, we might actually be able to meet depending on what topics come up and what needs to be decided and brought to DPW and brought to the consultants. We'll figure out how often we can meet, but it should be a minimum of once a month.
Are you still on the council for this?
Yeah, there's still 2 more months. There's still 2 more months, and I did not say I was leaving town. But other people will come in and be able to take over. When one of my earliest working groups was the fire station, the new headquarters in Newton Center. And we had a working group that met once a month. We brought everything, all the questions, all the issues. There was extreme panic in the neighborhood as to what was going to happen and how it was going to destroy the traffic patterns, and things were going to change and people weren't going to be able to get to their homes, and fires were going to happen and houses would burn down, and they didn't. And everybody loves that project. And in Newton Center, there when Panera Bread was coming in, 2 of the businesses in Newton Center hired a lawyer to try and keep Panera Bread out because they had more than one branch and were called a
Formulaic.
thank you, yes. And at the end of the day, both of those people came up to me after spending a lot of money on a lawyer to fight this, and said that it was the best thing that ever happened to them, that business increased when that happened. And then there was the bump out at the corner of Center and Langley Road. And that bump out was going to back traffic all the way up to Commonwealth Ave and all the way into Newton Highlands. If that happened, there was no way that those bump outs were going to be able to allow traffic to flow. That it would be a complete disaster, and nothing ever happened. And the construction was going to put people out of business. Exactly what Councillor Albright was talking about. What we need to do here is what we've talked about tonight, and that is to get a working group so that all of these things can be aired without spending the consultant's money. We will sit down at a table and talk about all of these things, and then when we have some consensus, and we'll have to come to consensus, we can't just agree to disagree and never take anything to the consultants. But when we get consensus on things, we will then spend the consultant's money in a very efficient and effective way. The questions that I had, I think most have been answered. One was, how is the ARPA money encumbered? Was it to be spent on the Highlands, or could it be spent anywhere in the city? And we now know that if we decide to go away and shelf this forever, the money will be spent elsewhere. And I don't think that's the route that we want to go. Number 2, is the $500,000 fungible? The answer to that is yes, it can be spent in other places. So if we want to do something in the Highlands, we need to spend the $500,000 or whatever is left by December 31 of 2026. That's correct. We don't have to spend all of the money that let's say grants would come in. Then we can go out and get the grants. all we have to do is spend the 500,000 that we have left on the consultants, and I think we can easily do that. The consultants have said that by December of next year, they can have a plan. And at that point, we would go out to grant funding. We would look at DPW to see how much funding we've got for the sewer underground.
Funding that
utilities,
portion
et cetera.
obviously would be up to the administration.
Yes, and what paving money or what crosswalk money, et cetera, we could get out of it. We've done it in Penny Square, we can do it here. And I think key is getting everybody to the table and letting everybody feel that they have been included on the most successful projects are the ones where everybody has felt, I had my input. I didn't get what I wanted, but I had my input. We're not all gonna get all of what we want. We need to come to all good projects become better with a lot of input. And I think this one will also.
Can I just say that on the Cabot Working Group, I wanted that gym to move to the back of the building. I did not get my way, but it's still a wonderful school, even though I didn't get my way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and whether or not we continue to have a slip lane, which I love slip lanes. But if we have to sacrifice something else that's bigger in order to accommodate pedestrian safety, those are things that need to be worked out at the table, not spending the consultant's money in
Agreed.
with this. And thank you for your comments, Councilor Farrell. They've been very helpful.
Are you still talking?
Yeah, still talking, not done. So I think that the time, unless we have more to say, unless anyone wants to speak again.
Councilor Dan.
Councilor. And anyone else? I am prepared to make a motion that we could then have discussion on if you want. To essentially move the project forward. Start a working group. And move the project forward so that by December, the goal of which would be by December 2026, to have finished the plan with input from the working group, and we would then be in a position to go out for grant funding.
Before then.
We would
Yeah,
go before then, but the
before.
commitment will be.
The earlier the better.
Design.
We just need to get to a point where we know we're gonna get this done, and we're going after funding to do it. So it's I think a version of option 2. And first of all, thank you very much, Councilor Albright, Chair Albright, for making this list. This is a very helpful list. And we've got numbers 19 and 20 from this table. And I think we're gonna go on and get 20 to 30 and have everybody's concerns discussed and vetted and decided upon. So recognizing that we have a conceptual plan at this point, and recognizing that we have more work needed, and that we will be forming a working group of voices that would like to be included. I would like to move that we proceed to final design after public input and discussion continuing into the new term, and that will include redocketing this item at the end of the term into the new term. We do
No,
not
because
into-
when it comes, you're gonna have to come back.
I'm gonna have to come back at probably 50% design and.
Yeah, so
Okay.
at least.
So
you
you'll
take
get
the
project
council on that.
updates, the city council will get project
Fine.
updates fairly regularly.
Fine, okay, so we don't have to redocket this to move into the new term. So
She's filibustering. let her do it.
So, does that, did the recording get enough of what my thoughts were?
Well, and we have Lisa
Create a
taking
motion?
notes, so
Yeah.
yes.
To create a motion out of that, if you have any questions, give me a call. But the motion is to move forward, to final,
With conditions.
with conditions to, final plan.
Okay, so Counselor Danberg has made a motion. So did you,
I'm good.
you're good with it. Did you have something you want to add?
No, thank you very much, Chair.
Counselor Getz, Counselor anybody, Counselor
fine.
Kelly, we haven't heard from you. Are you still
Yeah.
there?
Well, that hand keeps moving around.
Do you have a hand up?
No, that white hand that's right in front of.
What is that? What's the? What is? That's Lisa.
I'm fine. I've been paying attention. I don't have anything to add. I will vote soon when the vote comes. I'm not raising my hand, but thanks.
Okay, that was Lisa's hand. So does anybody have, and with the other thing that we want to make sure is that you, as the area council, have a chance to look at this list, which we've added 2 things to, and I don't know if anybody's adding anything else tonight. We'll go over it, but that you have a chance to add to the list after this meeting, before the meeting on Monday. Get it to us before the meeting on Monday. Yes?
I'll send it to you electronically.
Well,
certainly.
Lisa will do it.
Lisa, good, okay.
I would ask Ms. Sullivan if you can put together a 6-month plan. So it just looks, so people know when the meetings are, what to expect, things like that. It'll change, but it just gives people perspective on what's.
Happy to do that. It would be much easier if we had an established working group, so I can
Yeah.
factor in those
Yeah.
meetings.
Okay. Well, and let's say once a month, we'll call it once a month for now, more if we need them.
I think the city council itself has to establish the working group
Yes.
and the membership.
We'll ask
So,
President
yeah.
Laredo to establish the working group and to sign some councils to it.
Administration.
Oh, it's the administrator.
Yeah,
so
administration.
Yes, administration.
Creates the working group.
You create the working group,
Yeah.
but President Laredo will assign a counselor to it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, yeah, there'll be, there'll be lots of representation, their cap's not too large, and they're gonna meet during the daytime, but that's how working groups have always been created
Yeah.
here, very successfully, as I think you've pointed out.
Council Getz, and then Council Carroll.
2 pieces. I think it would be important for us to sort of even understand the process in terms of, like you had talked about, the 25, 50, and then, just so that we understand what decisions need to be made by, what times, because I sort of felt like in terms of the whole process, it was good to know that. And then the other piece that I think is very important is, we talked a little bit about the design cost for the undergrounding. And I sort of feel as if maybe even a portion of this budget needs to be, I don't know, you will find out, and I'm sure the number is going to be even larger than this, which is very disconcerting. But it would at least some sort of preliminary sort of understanding of what it would cost. And I don't know if that's something that would come from Eversource.
These are the numbers from
Yeah,
Eversource.
no,
I'm
that's
happy
what
to
I'm-
ask for updated
Yeah,
numbers.
well, I'm just sort of saying that there seemed to be some sort of flexibility in the memo that you had presented, that there was a little bit of flex, a little bit of working, so.
So I will check in on that. I suspect that the town of Weston may have hired Meach to do that, and they paid Meach 100,000,
Yeah.
where Eversource had their own charges.
Yeah.
But I need to investigate that. I
Yeah.
do not know that for sure. I'm gonna be upfront with that.
Yeah.
But I think it's such a high priority.
Sure, I can-
That I sort of
Okay.
feel as if, even money committed at this stage would be good. But I don't know if that's possible. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to do the investigation and come back to you with that.
Yeah.
But right now, the budget that we have gets us to final design. If we factor this in, it isn't going to get us to final
Right, but
design.
I don't want that.
So I
to
just
be-
want to be clear about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
So
mean,
you'll
I
have a
want-
working, by that time, you've got the data, you'll have a working group and you can discuss it with the group.
Right, but I sort of feel as if if in fact this is gonna turn into a $14 million project, I think it's important to explore it now.
Yeah, yeah. Council Farrell.
I'm just very curious to know how the administration sets up this working group. And when will we be able to know who's being invited to be on this working group? And
Yeah.
They usually ask counselors if they would like to be on it. And then
the area council. would
area
ask
council
for
would be a
members.
part.
The white people might be asked for members,
Business interests would come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a certain
Neighbors.
amount from each group of representation.
Jenny Farrelly of the,
She'd be city staff and
Yeah.
invited always.
Yeah.
So each constituency.
Is it essentially that there's one person from each of those groups?
I
Is that what it is?
don't remember.
Well, I think it's gonna be up to the administration to decide. You can't have too large of a group, and it's gonna be a group that meets during the daytime, during the workday, so people need to be available during the workday, so they're kept largely to a table this size, and often happens in this room, so not every single group has multiple members, and there'll be a variety of viewpoints, and it's critically important that there's a variety of viewpoints on a working group.
Is it possible that there be subcommittees of this group so that people who cannot come during the day? Is it possible that?
Yeah, it's not been done. Everybody has to be in the same room talking to each other.
Can I
Yeah,
ask?
that's always been the case.
That's really important to know. We will still do public engagement
There's still gonna be
outside
lots
of
of
the
public
working group.
engagement.
It's
Yeah.
That's
I have to say that
important.
some like-
It's again, it's the public engagement part that really is of interest to me. And that is how we do that, so when the public is larger than this working group is invited to come, will they have a chance to actually have a conversation? And not just be listening to a report?
Yeah, so if you think about, can I just say, if you think about how Josh Morse has done his building projects, they involve a working group that happens right here during the daytime on a regular basis. And on top of that, there's a public process. Josh is out meeting and talking and listening to the neighbors and to other stakeholders oftentimes in the evening. So it's a combination, and then bringing that information back to the working group. So it's a combination of a team working together as well as the public engagement that involves listening. So that's always how it's worked and worked successfully here in Newton.
Could I just amend one thing that you said was during the day, because many of the groups that Josh has organized happened like late in the afternoon, which made it easier for people who are working people to be at the meeting. It was started at 4 o'clock or something like that. So it's
5 to 6 o'clock.
Is it possible for people who are not part of the working group to
listen, be in the room.
be in the room and
It
listen?
it was for the groups that I've been part of.
Me too. Yeah,
That's
I
the
just want to
school
be clear
building.
about this.
school building ones, yes.
That's the school building committee. In addition, there's a working group that actually meets during the daytime and get things done. So usually working groups happen here in the room together and are not public, on Zoom or something.
But non-members can sit in the room and listen?
No, that's not the way it's been done. These are meetings held by the administration.
I'm not sure that Josh did it that way, but
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, but I
And
think.
it's a little complicated with school projects because there's a school building committee as well, which is a
Yeah,
public
that's true.
meeting, which is sort of a formal process that the MSBA has us go through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
What,
so,
I gotta tell you, what concerns me is the opportunity for these plans to be presented in Newton Highlands and when people can come to Newton Highlands.
absolutely. That's what,
And have a conversation.
yeah, I've heard you say that, and I think there's a commitment to have that conversation.
Thank you.
Now, there's not always an agreement
didn't
between
say
everyone.
that.
Yeah, okay, but I hear you.
I didn't say.
Our last meeting was an open house and
Yeah.
was a back and forth with the community.
Well, Commissioner, there were some people I heard who felt that there were lots of plans to look at and that they could come over and talk with you, but nobody actually ever sat down and said, okay, let's look at plan one and what do people think about and talk about. What, piece two. It's that kind of structured opportunity for the people in the community. Talk back and ask a question, you see something and they respond, like we're having a conversation tonight. That's what I'm looking for. And it's just me, I'm not talking on behalf of anybody.
I don't think there's any disagreement.
There's
on
no
that.
disagreement.
Nope.
We've tried several different approaches,
Okay.
open
We will
houses,
keep trying.
meetings,
Okay,
public meetings where we could have that back and forth.
thank you,
I'm happy to continue down that path,
thank you,
if that's what everybody would like.
thank you.
And, you know, if you stay involved and if you see things going off kilter, then,
Depends on what the vote is next Thursday, Tuesday,
okay,
and maybe Thursday, who knows?
Tuesday and Thursday?
No,
Monday, right?
It might be a vote in my house, who knows?
Can I just
Okay,
make-
we'll be there.
Can I just make a comment about the September 11th meeting? The plans were confusing for people. There was no key, and there were a lot of green things that people weren't sure what they were. It wasn't all grass. So, and it was very light. You had a hard time identifying which building was which. People were going, where am I now? And I had to say, oh, this is where we are now. It wasn't that clear. It should be clearer so people look at it and know exactly what.
Okay,
they're
that's
looking
great feedback.
Yeah.
And it was organized during the memorial, September 11th.
Okay. So,
We tried.
yeah,
Every date was a conflict.
Just like tonight, there's a dog park conversation as well.
I know that you and I should both be at, but we're not, so, oh well. And you should be there.
I do want to thank you, Chair, for your patience with me in particular, but also for listening to everybody. Thank
Of
you,
course.
appreciate it.
So, you had suggested, what, do you want to have a vote on that motion and then go over the list?
I don't think we need to go over the list, and I think you made the list, we'll submit it to the area council, get there and take a look.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and if anybody here at this table or online has an addition to the list, please don't be shy. So Councillor Danberg has made a motion that a sense of the committee is to move ahead to final design. And I forget what else you said, I'm sorry.
It was a lot.
It's a lot. Lisa, you'll make some sense out of it. So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, how many of us are there? 1, 2, 3, 5? Five. So we'll see where this goes at the meeting at Council Farrell's house. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.